Today, we gonna try something a little bit different. I've got even more than newest snapshot for you, a brand new farm mini tutorial, and a look to the future. So today is similar but different. Let me know if you like it by tapping like, and say hello to Kitty, because as I film this right now, she's at my desk. Yes, the other cube mob inside of the game, the magma one. The magma cube might have some clues as to what else is coming in 26.2. Minecraft 26.2 snapshot number 2. On the surface, this looks to be the spikiest, stinkiest snapshot of all time? Which, yes, it is, but there's a little bit more to it. Specifically, the magma cube, the interaction with the frog here. So I don't want to get into a biological conversation today, but you know how it goes.
Some days, when a frog and a little magma cream meet up together, well, a little bit of sweet love is made and frog lights are born.
Before this snapshot, randomly, the frog would try to eat the big magma cream. And speaking of the magma cream, it was removed from the magma cube's drop table for some reason as well. So now, at least in theory, magma cream should drop from the magma cube again. And the frogs, if it's got an appetite, it should only attempt to eat the smallest magma cube. A couple of simple bug fixes, but you never know. With this update already being about a chaotic cube, is it a coincidence that the other one gets bugged out? As we know, sometimes Mojang messes around with things behind the scenes before they implement whatever the change be into the snapshot. This definitely feels like it could be one of those instances where we have a little bit more, even if it's just an updated texture or something. Oh man, now the sulfur spike. In the initial snapshot video, I got a little bit of stuff wrong. I am so sorry, I'll never do it again, please forgive me. The sulfur spike, in the initial video, I was messing around with the thing, trying to figure out how to get it to grow. After the video, I ran a little bit of an experiment here. Here we could see a little bit of water. We've got potent sulfur, normal sulfur, and then dripstone. I figured because this thing is kind of ripped from dripstone, maybe that's how it could grow, and it's just like it's another bug. But that's where I was wrong. Bumping our random tick speed up from 3 to 3,000, we can see here that the sulfur spike, it will actually grow for sure. But it doesn't need any water to grow at all. This spike, it needs to be placed on a plain old sulfur block, and don't even worry about the water. You don't need it. Now, my tick rate is insanely fast here, and we can see that these spikes are still growing very slow. They are also able to form a spike on the block directly below the one from the ceiling if the block is a fully solid block. So the spikes grow with just sulfur, but slow. And so that's where I got to experimentating with the sulfur spike. So inside of this other random world, we will again go ahead and bump up the tick rate here. If I go ahead and remove some of these spikes, well, we can see here that the spikes are only growing when they are on sulfur. If I try and put sulfur bricks, polished sulfur, or any other block in the game, they are not going to grow. We can also see that sulfur spikes will form on the ground almost no matter what. I have a block like mud that technically isn't a full solid block, and the sulfur spike will still grow on it. Concrete, nothing like sulfur at all, and it doesn't matter. If there is a solid block below where a sulfur spike is, a spike will grow. But these spikes grow very, very slow, just like a dripstone spike. The Wandering Trader. Oh man, did you know that this update actually has yet another Wandering Trader update inside of it? It seems like the Wandering Trader is the drop team's favorite villager of all time because this is basically the only one that continuously gets brand new trades. The Wandering Trader, if we're lucky, will actually be able to sell us a tiny bit of sulfur spike. The Wandering Trader's loot trading table is so crowded that it might take 1.5 million traders to find it.
1 hour later.
No less than 1.5 million Wandering Traders later, and I'm about ready to give up here, but you get the point. There's a sulfur spike trade. Should be the same as the pointed dripstone. It's just there's too many trades in the Wandering Trader. I will never find it. So now, fully understanding how sulfur spikes grow, it was time to farm. Dude, even in the initial snapshot video, even if it is a retextured pointed dripstone, the idea of a new thing that I could actually farm inside of the game, dude, that awakens me. Making a farm is still, to this day, my favorite thing in the game. If I wanted to design the world's easiest sulfur spike farm, and by the way, little refresher, you would farm the sulfur spike so you can craft the sulfur block, and then if you crafted enough sulfur blocks, you could even make a potent sulfur. But the easiest sulfur spike farm right here, it all kicks off with a little bit of sulfur up top, a sulfur spike. Then I've got a random building block, a piston, an observer. Behind the observer, solid block, redstone dust on top of it, and then a hopper chest combo at the bottom. Once the sulfur spike grows in front of the observer, the piston will fire it, and all of the drops will be sent down into the hopper because we have this thing fully blocked in. But keep in mind that this thing grows impossibly slow. So a single wide farm right here, that's not going to get you very much spikes. Instead, what you might want to do here is tile it over and get it to be a little bit larger. This is what I am calling medium sulfur spike farm. Now, as you can see here, we don't have a million observers, and that's because of how redstone is going to work on this farm. Let's say I took this initial version of the farm with the observer, the piston, and decided to just tile it over right next to itself. Well, if I did that, this thing is unfortunately never going to fire because of the redstone dust. It ends up connecting to itself, and that's going to mean that the observers detect it, but the pistons never catch the signal. So, instead, we're looking at a tiled over version of the farm that looks something like this right here. Inside of the farm, I've got basically the same exact thing, except on either side of the observer, left and right, I don't have any more observers. After that, I could go ahead and basically do the same thing again. Now, our redstone on the back of the farm is going to look a little bit different. Behind this single block with the redstone dust right there, we've got that same observer piston combo. Then I've got a solid block, then I've got redstone dust. Only this time, to power the adjacent pistons, I've got more solid blocks on either side of the dust. The dust will power the piston and these two blocks, therefore powering the pistons in front. So check this out. When this spike grows up a little bit farther, we have the pistons next to it fire as well. The only problem with this one is if the spike doesn't grow in front of the observer, the other spikes can grow potentially quite long until the main one actually sees it and harvests everything. Now, for the rest of this farm right here, it's pretty straightforward. I've got an extra block on the bottom. Technically, you don't need that. You could push the hoppers up by one, but with this farm maybe growing a little bit more before every single harvest, I recommend adding that extra row of blocks. Then I've got hoppers all tied into each other, funneling towards the middle. If I didn't play around with breaking the glass, every single drop would be funneled into this chest every time. But if only there were a way to have this at maximum efficiency. As in, we packed this thing in just as efficiently as this one, but had an observer looking at every single spike, so we were immediately harvested. Oh, but there is, and that's where we get to the world that I am giving my channel members a world download to today. This is a very simple, maximum efficiency sulfur spike farm. The sulfur spike farm doesn't make the spikes grow any faster. There's no way to do that right now, but what it does do is allow you to pack everything in nice and tight and have like a bunch of sulfur spikes. For example, this farm has 16 growable spikes. Now, world download out for this one. You can make this farm as big or small as you like, but for a tile of 16 spikes growing inside of the farm, top of the chest, exact materials, exact things, bottom of the chest, how many building blocks and other blocks that I used to actually build the farm behind us. Today, I will show you how to build a mini version of this farm, but keep in mind that you can make it as long or short as you'd like. We're going to kick everything off with the chest and then some hoppers going into the chest. Make sure all of your hoppers are strung together, something like that. Then we're going to pick a side. Any side will do. On whatever side you pick, you will place an observer looking forward towards the hopper. You'll skip a block and then do the same thing until you reach the end of your line of observers. Now we're going to go ahead and jump over to the other side and basically mirror the thing, looking towards the center again, but staggered out something like this right here. Now, in between every observer, a solid building block. On top of every observer and facing in the same direction, we will place a plain old normal piston. Then, again, in between each piston that you placed, more solid building blocks. Next up here, so we have room to grow the spikes, we will do a full row of any random solid building block. Doesn't matter as long as it's a full block. Now, pretty much almost last things last here. We've got sulfur on the top. We're going to place one on every single row that has a piston in front of it. And then we will line the ceiling with sulfur spikes. If we want sulfur spikes to grow, we cannot just place a blank empty block. We need to actually kick things off with a sulfur spike on top of it. Without a sulfur spike, no spikes will grow. Now, almost finally here with our farm today, behind every single observer, a solid building block and then a redstone dust sitting on top of it. And you're going to need to flip around on both sides of your farm and do that so you actually have working circuits. And then, the very final thing that you need to do is fill in the front and the back side of your farm with some kind of solid building block. You can get fancy like I did over here and do walls, glass panes, and whatever, but no matter what you do, you need it fully blocked in. So for my miniature version of my farm right here, I went ahead and did something like that. It's not very pretty, but voila, now we have a working farm. If I go ahead and bump my random tick speed up to 3,000, I mean, I'm going to notice that this farm is still going to grow pretty slow here. But every single time a spike grows in front of an observer, it is harvested by the piston, and then the spikes go into the hoppers. If you're looking to build with the sulfur block in large quantities, I recommend your smallest tile of this farm being 16 blocks deep, and maybe even you build a couple of these farms. Unless the mechanics change by the time the update releases, this is how you will build a sulfur farm inside the Chaos Cubed update. Now, one final test that I ran with the sulfur spike. Do the sulfur spikes allow you to create water cauldron, lava cauldron? No, they do not. As you can see here, the sulfur spike can still grow with the water above it, but it never filled up the cauldron. And this has been running for like the whole time I've been in this world. Now, last things last today, I want to peer into the future. It's clear with the addition of sulfur spike, this is Mojang's way of making the sulfur block renewable. The cinnabar block, on the other hand, as of right now, sits unrenewable. How will Mojang make this thing renewable? Yeah, I can almost guarantee that Mojang is going to make this renewable in some way. They've said that nowadays they want all of the things inside of each drop. They want their new additions to be actually accessible and playable. So there's going to be a way to renew cinnabar. But how? And so it was all to the research lab. How does cinnabar actually form? Cinnabar is primarily formed through low temperature hydrothermal process. In other words, cinnabar forms inside of a hot spring. Now, inside of Minecraft, we don't quite have hot springs. These are nausea springs. But one of my favorite ideas for a method of cinnabar becoming renewable has to do with the good old-fashioned, tried and true cobblestone generator. Take a look at this move right here. If I have a lava, and then it goes and touches the water right there, perhaps this could form. Because I have a little bit of potent sulfur right here, therefore making this water different, well, perhaps this dynamic duo could form cinnabar instead of a cobblestone every single time. This definitely wouldn't be the most exciting way to make cinnabar renewable, but it would be a way. Or, on the other hand, back to where we started this video. The magma cube. When you take out the magma cube from time to time, you will be able to get the magma cream item. The magma cream, as we know, can be crafted into magma blocks. This is a pretty simple mechanic for renewability. Maybe some sort of cinnabar shard mob drop isn't fully off the table. Probably the easiest way to make cinnabar renewable is take something like the cave spider and add a new item to its drop table. Maybe it'll drop a piece of cinnabar or something. After all, these things are native inhabitants of the biome. And then voila, you craft that thing or 4 of those small pieces of cinnabar into the full block. Oh, but my favorite idea is perhaps a brand new biome. You see, cinnabar is often found in the real world near volcanoes or hot springs. Now, this new biome, though it is beautiful, is this technically a hot spring? I'm not too sure. It seems to me to be a little bit more of a poison spring. It's definitely not a volcano. The Basalt Deltas biome. It's essentially a volcano biome, except it's inside of the nether. We've already got the terrain generation features, the lava pools, the spikes of basalt. It would be pretty simple for Mojang to go ahead and port a biome just like this over to the overworld with cinnabar generating all over this biome, and maybe a little bit of calcite or something else cool as well. This new biome, it would be a volcanic biome, and maybe almost like an amethyst geode. You'd see cinnabar growing and forming inside of this volcano. Cinnabar forms near volcanoes. A volcano is one of the oldest requested biomes. Gosh, I wonder if we could see some kind of fiery biome come to this update next. Oh, and one final thing. In the snapshot video, I asked you guys all about beds and what this change had to do with. It's not a block entity. Well, it's a pretty technical change, but one big change that this means is that beds will no longer fade in and out of view as you get farther away from them. Just like with a normal block, the bed will now always be visible. I wonder if we could maybe finally see some item texture parity as well. For today's dive into sulfur spikes, the farms, and everything like that, that's about it. Become a channel member today for some cool extra perks and benefits. Smash like, subscribe, and thanks for watching. I'll see you tomorrow. Goodbye.